Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group, as well as principal of the Bradford Group Consulting. And I am so excited to be back again with my E360 TV audience, as well as those of you that are joining us on Facebook to talk about the power of the pen in our expression and how important it is for us to tell our story, whether it's through written word or spoken word. And today I have a very special guest, Ramona Fowler, who will be joining me. And I thought it was very timely for her to be a part of this show, sharing one of her recommended reads because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we know that this is a time when we're spotlighting the importance of having this conversation of what it means to have a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. And again, this isn't just something we do for 30 days, but it's really what we do every single day of our lives. And how do we become more empowered in taking care of our mental health, just as we do our physical health. Our goal here is to help to get rid of the stigma and the biases associated with mental health so that it just becomes commonplace conversation that we have each and every day, sharing tips, tools, and resources, including the book that we are going to talk about later today. But I want to first, before I bring Ramona on, is start with a little video about mental health. Hello, Ramona. How's it going?
Hi, LaWanna. Everything's going great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I think I'm going to add, I think it's important to add the name of the author here. We are going to be talking about Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And this is a recommended read by Ramona Paulson. And before we start talking about the book, Ramona, I just want to first say thank you for taking time of your busy retirement schedule to join me.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
I think it's a very, very important topic, and I love Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And for those who don't know who she is, she's a neuroscientist as well as in simple terms, she is an expert on the brain and brain health and brain wellness, and how our mind influences the brain, which influences our actions, our thoughts, and ultimately our body. And so Ramona and I are going to talk a little bit about this amazing book. But I want to tell people a little bit about you. Is that okay, Ramona?
Of course.
Ramona is a retired educator, and I love the fact that when she and I spoke about retirement, she said not only was she planning to make sure financially things were ready for her to retire, but she had a plan of action of how she wanted to experience her retirement life. And I think that is so important because often, Ramona, when people retire, they're lost. It's like suddenly they feel that they don't have purpose and what's the meaning of life now that I have this new chapter. So you have made an impact in the educational arena in Las Vegas. And now just through your new lived experience, you are, I think I would like to call you like a teacher in action and enjoying the time with your husband, celebrating your 2 adult children and your family, your mom. And you have also embarked upon rediscovering your passion and love for art. And so I like to get into that a little bit before we talk about the book.
Okay. Well, I did retire from teaching after 30 years. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do something for me. And I started reading and watching self-help YouTube videos. And I wanted to help my body feel better because I have arthritis, but I also was eating better, exercising, lightly to moderate, not crazy, have limitations, but also my mental health. I started thinking, I get stressed out and frustrated easily, not necessarily with the kids when I'm teaching, but with myself. And I wanted to feel better every way that I could. So exercising and eating didn't seem like a problem, but uh, when I started painting, it felt very therapeutic. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it and started thinking real positive thoughts. And I had like hope, like there was something more than just working and retiring. And I really have gotten into it. I've been able to actually sell some of my art, and that's been exciting. I'm just at the beginning, I think, of the art journey, but I've been loving it, and it's given me a little bit of purpose, like you said. I've done so many things since I've retired, but this is really resonating with me the most so far.
You just used a very interesting word, and I know this month I've been interviewing different individuals on my three platforms, and whenever we've talked about mental health, everyone has used the word hope. So tell me a little bit about that, and why is hope so important as we journey through life? Because we know there's going to be ebbs and flows, and some days are going to be better than others, and some are going to feel pretty crappy, right?
True. Well, like you said, my kids are grown, so I don't identify so much with the mother as much, even though I do talk to them and support them. It's different. And it's almost like my time to be doing something. And so I started thinking more about what I liked and more about what I wanted to do. And that's when I became hopeful that, you know what, I can have my own little life now, even though I've raised my children and I'm married and we're going about doing our daily things. I really feel like I can be happy in retirement. A lot of people were, concerning me saying, oh, you're going to be bored. You've been teaching so long and you're so active. And I was a little concerned. So I did start making a little mental list of what I like and what I used to like to see if I can get back into it, and art was one of them. And just to be able to make so many paintings and make so many art pieces of work a day, it just feels healthy to me. I feel happy, and that's what makes me hopeful that I can make myself happy, and I don't need all these external sources. And by doing that, people are appreciating my art, and it's just amazing. It's not really what I expected, but it's coming out turning out great.
And I think that's so beautiful because your it's like your gift makes a way for you, and even though we may bury it, when we rediscover it, like you said, you feel alive. You're
True.
creation on steroids right now. With every time I look, it's like, hey, what about this? And I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm
I mean,
trying.
it's
I'm trying.
exciting. It's exciting to see everything that you're doing. And I had we met when we were kids in Italy, and knowing your family, which is like family to me, and
Same.
like I have your father's artwork hanging in my home, and
That's right.
I never knew that you had that talent. So that's I think for me, it's just so exciting to see. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I always did it. In middle school, I took an art class and did a lot of drawing. And in high school, I took an art class and have a big drawing outside in my garage. And even in college, I took painting, but I never really had time to do it between raising kids and teaching and having a job. And every chance I did, my kids had projects and like, can you please draw this for me? So I would say, I'm only going to draw it. You have to color it and do the rest. But that was my little chance to, do something fun and exciting. And people were always amazed, like, wow, did you make that? Did you do that bulletin board? Because you don't get a chance to be super creative when you're busy like that.
That's true. And I find that you are more creative when you have that clarity of mind, when you're in a place of peace, so you can tap into your genius, right? But when there's a lot of
True.
noise, and as Dr. Carolyn Leaf is saying, that mental mess, it's a little hard to find creativity, right?
And definitely, that's the last thing on your mind. It's true. No, no. I've been having a good time of, like I said, exercising and eating right. And the last thing was the mental part. And I really wanted to get that down because as you go through life, oh, I wish I could work on that, or I want to do more of this. But until you really read more about it, like her book, I had to have it. And the more you start realizing, wow, this helps everybody in everyday life. It's not like people just that have problems. It's everyday things that could push your buttons or trigger you, and you can change it. You are the person driving your life, not your brain, as Dr. Caroline Leaf says. Is like you have your own mind, and your mind tells the brain what to do. And so I love the idea that it came from data and science. So that helps me understand it, because she makes it easy to understand. But to make it in everyday life, you have to really practice it. It takes time, and I've been practicing it, and it really makes a difference. And I see it's affecting everyone in my life, my kids, my mom, everyone, because they see that I've changed a little bit, little by little, and they're like, "Wow, what'd you do?"
So, how did you discover the book?
Well, I was looking at YouTube videos, and there's all kinds of things. I started meditating, and I started getting into more of, homeopathic type medicines. And so I thought, I wanted to do something natural that I could do for myself. And when I found out about her, I watched almost all of her videos, all in like a week. And I thought, well, she started advertising this book. And so I thought, you know what? It's not very much on Amazon. I'm getting it. And I started reading it. I couldn't put it down. It just made so much sense. Like I said, just resonated with me. I said, wait a minute, and the more that I read it, I like that she has like two parts. One part is all about the brain. It is very technical, and she explains it easily, but it's all her studies and all the research over the 30, 40 years she's been doing, which I was interested in. And once I understood the background and the what and the how, then I got into that practical practice of her easy 5 steps. Like everyone has, and for 9.99, these 5 steps will make you happy. But they're have to do with rewiring the brain, and it made perfect sense to me. And so I started trying it, and I was amazed how good it was.
Yeah, because when you think about that, yeah, we've all heard we only use a small percentage of our brain, and she uses the term neuroplasticity, and that's the
Hmm.
brain's ability to wire and or rewire itself, which is pretty powerful when you think of people who've had brain injuries or illnesses, strokes, etc. That you can actually help the brain to tap into the healthier parts and
Exactly.
still live a beautiful and fulfilled life. And I think it's actually it can be a little frightening to realize that we literally can control the outcome of our lives, right? It takes the
Yes.
blame, right? We have to get
Yes.
rid of the blame game and say, okay, I am
So
accountable,
true.
I am responsible.
You can only blame your parents for so long. Then you're an adult. You make the change. You want to do it better, do it better. And I agree with all of that. I mean, she gives examples of people in comas, and she still talked to them and still trained them after they came out. And they finished high school and college, and they were perfectly fine. And she was deciding, and her research was the brain can change, your mind can change. So everyone can.
The one thing that she also mentioned is that when you are aware, right, and you become, because we are conscious beings, so when you become very aware of the triggers and why you have been responding and reacting a certain way, you
Hmm.
can shift that. And many of our negative responses are fear based.
I agree. That is the truth. You have to be aware. Her very first step is to gather information. Am I sweating? Am I clenching my fist? Am I cussing at someone cutting me off? What am I doing? Am I breathing harder? Is my heart beating? As soon as you gather all that information, then you go, wait a minute, why am I so angry? And then you go deeper and reflect. And the more you reflect, you start going, wait a minute, I felt insignificant as a child. I was ignored. I was nothing. With the middle child syndrome. I mean, you start getting to the deep root, and you're like, wow, this guy just cut me off. But really, it comes down to something deeper. It's hurting you, because people that are angry are just hurt. It's a little child hurt inside. And you start reflecting a little bit, and then they say, of course, writing always helps. And if you write down things, whether it's speaking into your phone or writing it down anywhere, you get a chance to make it real. It's coming to, like you said, the surface, to the conscious mind. And then that's when you can change it and rewire it. And it's not going to happen overnight or the first time, but you can be like, well, this guy was probably in a hurry, he cut me off. Or this guy he doesn't even know who I am, he's not attacking me, he just, being dumb. And then you can decide you're not going to take that on to your personality. You're not going to make yourself angry and miserable for the next 10 minutes and breathe hard because this, what this guy's doing. And so you have choices. And so I tried it. I was like, huh, and just kept moving on, and it didn't affect my health because you do get angry and your cortisol levels pop, and you have to watch these things. And if you don't, that's how people have heart attacks. That's how people have depression. That's how people have anxiety. And you want to be free. It's like I just retired for the last 4 years. I want to be happy and free and healthy. I don't want to be, like you said, bogged down with things that the society has told me I have to be.
The one thing that was actually a little disturbing that she put in the book is she compared, our parents' generation with our generation, and it's basically this is the first generation that is not going to live as healthy as the previous generation. That we
Yeah,
are dying younger,
reverse.
and take COVID off the table. I don't know about you, but I've heard. I mean, so many people in our age group with tragic, diseases, or they're just dying, and you're wondering what is going on, and
Hmm.
we are in a very fast-paced society. Those of us that live in larger cities, I mean, just getting in traffic is stressful enough, and so
Yes.
we're living in this fight flight, state of being constantly. And with you in reading the book, what tips did you pull out of it to help people to get to a place where they can calm themselves and, well, first recognize that you are in this heightened state of, I'm on edge, and then calm yourself down to get to a place, I guess, a healthy space mentally, which will then translate to your physical well-being.
Well, believe it or not, the more I talk to other people about this, the more I realize that their psychiatrists or their therapists are saying the exact same thing that Caroline Leaf is saying, that you can control the outcome. You can control how you feel. Maybe not everyone else, but you can control how you feel and how you react to things. So I think one of the biggest things I got out of the book was I'm in control of my life and destiny. If I want it to be full of love and happiness, that's what it will be. You don't let somebody else anger you, and you let it happen. That's your fault. So only you can change yourself. And if everybody just changed themselves and worry about themselves, life definitely would be better. But I think her whole idea of uh, recognizing it and then changing it over and over. Her big thing is it takes 21 days for a habit, but she says no, it takes 63 days, 3 months to really, really rewire and change things. And so I just keep thinking that, you know what, I'll do it for 6 months, do it for a year, do it for two. The more I do it, the more I notice that I'm peaceful. I have less anxiety. I'm sleeping better, and I'm affecting the people around me. My own kids are realizing the same things. And even though our generation is, like you said, fast paced and fast food and not as healthy and burning out so fast, I think the next generation is the key. These guys, as they say, is a generation of woke individuals. They already are aware at a very young age, and they're already changing things. They're already telling our generation what we need to do to make things different. I find that refreshing. Like, finally, you're allowed to express your feelings. You're allowed to be who you are. And
Yes.
I think that's a good thing. And you have to like yourself. They always say that, like yourself before you like someone else. And it's really hard because you hold grudges against yourself and you think you're a certain way. You don't have to think you're a certain way. You can think you're any way you want to be. You can change it. And I know a lot of times for people, it takes a major accident, whether it's a heart attack or a car accident or something major, a divorce, something happens bad, and then they change. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can change on your own when you feel like it, when you want to, when you're ready to say, wow, I used to do this. Why? Oh, because of that. Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to, rewire myself. And to me, that's awesome. I mean, if you can train a dog, you definitely can train your brain. Tell it what you want. And I tell you what, it's been working. It's slowly but surely. You have to think the positive thoughts. And I'm having less issues, less problems, less everything. And so that I think that's healthy. And if you don't realize it and you don't want to do it, then no, it's not going to happen. There's always a naysayers, but you have to look deep into yourself and say, how do I want to be? What's my best self to show up? What do I have to do to do that? And everybody's different, but I was ready to work on myself because I had been helping so many people. It's time to help myself. And I this book, I loved it. I devoured it, and I talk about it to everybody I meet because I think it's just helpful for everyone in every situation, every age. I don't care what it is. Because she says she works with her family, husband, son, daughters, and they have to all the time they always say, do the 5 steps. And when they do, they realize, oh, I snapped at you because of this, and they communicate. And I'm like, wow, what an awesome family that must be.
Right. One of the things that she said, and this goes back to what you were just saying, she said, change requires action and application, and both of these are driven by our mind. The state of our mind is in affects how it functions, which determines what and how we absorb, apply, and put our own thinking into action. Everything we do begins with a thought. If we want to change anything in our lives, we must first change our thinking, our mind. When we know how to change our mind, we rewire neural networks in the brain that create useful, sustainable, automated, automatized, actions and attitudes, good habits that make us happier and healthier. We get from good advice to a good life with our mind, hence the term mind management. So we hear
Exactly.
time management all the time, right? But
Yep.
we don't hear mind management.
Never. It's time. I think in the old days, honestly, when we grew up, you had a best friend and you talked to your best friend every day about little problems, big problems. You support each other, they didn't judge you. And I think that was our therapist back then. And that a lot of times now you don't have a lot of best friends. You don't have time for that, whether you're, married or whether you're, running around with a big career. You don't have that. And I think that less socializing has caused that generation a problem. We never had computers, we never had cell phones growing up, and it changes things. And I think more than ever, the younger generation needs to start realizing things because they don't have a lot of best friends to be talking to nonstop like we used to. I mean, that's all we do, ride our bikes as kids and talk and play on the playground. But a lot of kids don't even go outside anymore.
No, it's sad. And as we're talking, I was thinking about as women, when we are busy and we're juggling, um, there's often this mask we put up, right? We want the world to think we've got it all together, but
We're
inside,
invincible.
we're struggling. And so this
Definitely.
book here is a way for us to understand what's happening, acknowledge it, but then how to take control, right?
Yes, and make changes in your own life because everyone's got different situations. She lays down the facts and the research and then gives you the tools to do it. Everyone, has a different way of taking it and changing. And might be baby steps, it might be all of a sudden, it might be like a revelation. But just to do the work, I don't know. I think it's satisfying and exciting. I don't know who wouldn't want to make themselves better.
Right. I want to let everyone know we're here with Power of the Pen with Ramona Fowler, and we're talking about her recommended read, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Caroline Leaf. Um, and this show is for infotainment purposes only. It is not designed to treat any diseases or any issues with mental health. We do encourage, if anyone is in that state where you're feeling a little overwhelmed and out of control, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. So Ramona, you mentioned that the first half of the book's very technical, talks about the science and the evidence base associated with the science, and then the second half you get into the practical application.
Yes, all
Now
the
that I know
process.
all of this, what does it mean to me? How can I use this? And you mentioned the
Exactly.
5 steps. So, if I may, I want to take myself down, and can you just walk us through um,
Sure.
the 5 steps?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
All right, what the Caroline Leaf starts with is gathering. Gather all the information you can about your breathing, about your body, what you're thinking. What do you rush to as soon as you're getting this feeling? The very next thing is reflecting. Like, wait a minute, this reminds me of the 10 other times I was mad last week or upset or whatever. Once you reflect a little bit about it, you start realizing, am I safe? Is this real? You have to think of these kinds of things. And then you start writing. You have to write, whether it's speaking into a microphone or just physically writing. Writing about it makes it real. Writing about it helps your brain to clear it up and make it clearer for you. And then you just recheck. You're going to recheck yourself. It's like, okay, when I feel this, I do this. So next time I feel this, I'm going to do this. And you rewire and change. It's a simple sentence she puts in her book to help you get to that point. And then there's something called an active reach where you try it. There's no cycle that is going to work unless you practice it. So if you can practice it with little things, big things, relatives, whoever triggers you, uh, you have to keep practicing it. And I go back to the book all the time, almost like a manual, and it helps me look and see, what did I miss this time? How can I change it? How can I make it better? But after you have all these positive uh, uh, I say revelations, you start thinking, wait a minute, you change how you think. That's your chance to rewire your brain. It does take a little bit of time, but the more you do it, it's like healing yourself. You slowly start healing your mind, your body, everything, your soul. You're feeling, like a whole person, and that life is different now. It's not so dark and negative. And I think everyone can benefit from reading the book or watching a couple of her videos and make you understand. She's a great person to explain the process and how the negative thoughts go away. You have to replace them with positive thoughts. It's just common sense, but with all the data and research she's done, it really helps make sense. And she explains it so well because it is a pretty heavy book for, brain concepts. But when you read it and start thinking about it, it's awesome. I think everyone should take a peek at that book or her work.
Can you hold the book up for us?
Yeah, here's the cover.
So,
Cleaning Up Your
Cleaning
Mental
Up Your
Mess.
Mental Mess by Dr. Carolyn Lee. 5 simple, scientifically proven steps to reduce anxiety, stress, and toxic thinking. And we could
Exactly.
all use a little bit of that, right?
Yes, this day and age, don't hold it in. You got to figure it out. And sometimes you get inklings of this as your day goes on or your life goes on, but you don't have the time to deal with it. So when you have time, whether it's a girls' weekend or it doesn't matter, get into it and start talking about it. Have a book talk. Can you imagine 3 or 4 of your best friends reading the same book and talking about it? Powerful.
Yes, I love that. Well, Ramona, I cannot believe we are almost
Mhm.
out of time. But before we go, I have a video that I want to show our listening audience. Is that okay?
Okay.
And our viewing audience. Here we go.
Thank you.
So I thought it was important for, first of all, our audience to know, your business side of your retirement with your art, your beautiful artwork, but also that when we're able to tap into the awareness and take the conscious steps to apply these tools and techniques that Dr. Leaf has provided, those 5 steps, we can find ourselves venturing into a new creative and expansive zone, just like you're experiencing, Ramona. And it's like every day becomes new because you're not the same person that you were before you
Exactly.
discovered her, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, to our viewing audience, I want to say thank you so very much for joining us on another edition of Power of the Pen. Thank you, Ramona, for saying yes. And please, you can get the book, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Carolyn Lee on Amazon.com. If you have any questions for Ramona, please reach out to her on Instagram or Facebook. And if you would like to learn more about how you can explore your artistic side, maybe you've always had a desire to paint, contact Ramona. She'll give you some tips. And to all of you, we encourage you to celebrate your voice. Feel free to express who you are, show up authentically, and live your life to the fullest. As Ramona mentioned, life is happening now. It's happening now. And we realize that life can happen and bring some unexpected things, can make things a little dark. You're not alone. Please reach out for support and just remember that there is hope. Until next time. Bye, everyone. Bye, Ramona.
Thank, thank you.